Right guys, hello, another video for you all, more content, my Quest VR headset. We do some emulation today. It's 2 years ago now I did the RetroArch video for the Quest, but we're going to look at Citra today for the Nintendo 3DS. I wanted to do my own video to help people out. So we'll break the video down with timestamps, put it into chapters, help you find what you want to see, as well as useful links in the description of the video and a pinned comment below. Now the chapters can be helpful because there's quite a lot I want to go over. There's really two ways we can do this. You might want to do one or the other, probably both. We can use our gaming PC to emulate, play the games and stream them into the Quest headset. I still think this is the best way to do it. Some of you want to do it standalone, have the games and the emulator on the Quest headset itself, so we'll cover both options. The first link I'm going to give you is to the Citra Emulator so you can understand all about it and do your homework. We've got a download section here so you can get the emulator for Windows or other platforms. You can even put it on your Android phone. Now I will tell you, I gave up on emulation with Android devices a long time ago because they changed the way the operating system works and how it accesses files in storage, and it made life very difficult for developers, and it actually affected the performance as well. So I just pretty much gave up emulating on my phone and the Shield TV. But anywho, just be aware it is possible to do it. So we've also got help and frequently asked questions, so all about how you can dump your game cartridges. Please don't ask for download links or give comments telling people how to pirate the games. Nintendo hates us emulating enough as it is without our videos being taken down for copyright infringement. So the information's out there. Google is your friend. Do your homework. We've got a compatibility tab, so we can see games aren't tested, they don't boot, they only get to the intro or the menu, they're bad, okay or great. So we can search for our games and see what the state of them is. But really, if we just put the emulator on, point it to our folder which has our 3DS game files. So I've got decrypted files there. If they're encrypted, you'll need to have your system keys added into the emulator as well, making things even more complicated. But we can see the compatibility there. One game is perfect, some are great, a few are okay. So they are all playable from start to finish. Some say bad, so they're either going to have really bad graphical glitches or audio glitches. Quite possibly there's just a part of the game you can't progress past, which is a shame. So be mindful of the games that you choose to emulate. The compatibility can change over time as the software matures. The other thing to keep in mind, some games, I'm going to say Kirby off the top of my head, required gyro motion controls to progress through them, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So as we've got the Windows emulator open, let's just quickly go into the emulation and the configure tab. So we can see under graphics we've got the stereoscopic 3D mode. We can do side by side. So this is what's exciting. It was the gimmick of the 3DS. It's 3D screen for depth perception, and we can replicate that because that's what our VR headsets do. So we can do side by side, change the amount of depth from like 0 to 100. So Super Mario 3D Land at 100% depth, it looks incredible. Now this isn't something that will come across in the YouTube video when I showcase it later, but when you experience it yourself, it is very, very cool. We've also got our controls tab, so we can see motion and touch there. So I've got a 8-bit DO game controller, Bluetooth. It's got a little switch on the back. S is for Nintendo Switch support, and that's how the gyros will work in it. Some of you might have a DualShock 4 that's got a touchpad as well as gyro controls in it. So we've got a couple of motion providers, CMU Hook or SDL. Now I've got DS for Windows software that runs when it finds my gamepad. We've got the settings and the UDP server, so if I enable that and check that these settings match what's in the emulator, they can talk to each other. That telemetry from the gyro sensors can be read by the emulator, so the movement is converted into controls. We see the auto map, so we can click on that, press the button on our gamepad, and it automatically binds the controls for us in a second. Or if you don't like them, you can manually change it yourself to what you prefer. We've got a little tab down here. It's saying it's on the Vulkan API, which was recently added late last year, but not all games will necessarily play with that API, so we can click and go to OpenGL to get some troublesome games to play. So that's doing it with a gaming PC, but we want to talk about doing it standalone on the Quest headset itself. So there's another link to GitHub So Amanda Watson is the developer. I'm pretty sure it's the Android version of Citra that she's porting over to the Quest. We can sideload Android APK files onto the Quest headset. That's how I did RetroArch way back when. So we can see it is in beta. We do expect it to have issues and problems and crash, but we expect it to get better over time. So we come here for releases. We're at 0.3.2 now. God knows what it will be by the time you're watching this video. But you see it was released yesterday, and they've made some changes to how the controls work. So this is why I've waited a while before I did the video, because I knew there would be extra features and things change over time. They've added in an immersive mode, but they're saying that's causing some visual artifacts on some content, including the 2D menus. They've changed the way the CPU level is set, so down to level 3, reducing power draw. Your battery life should last longer and prevent the processor getting too hot, as well as some other fixes. So always come in here and have a look, see what what the full change log is and what's improved over time. And there's our APK file, so we can click on that and we can download it and get ready to transfer that onto the Quest headset. So to do the side loading, we're going to use SideQuest. Now I'm not going to cover how to set up SideQuest because it's already been done to death on YouTube. There's plenty of content out there to help you get it done. So many of you are probably using it already. What we want to do is get our Quest headset hooked up, either by cable or whatever, but we're looking for that green circle to let me know that I've got a good connection status. And then I can just take the APK file we downloaded, drag it to the top corner, let it go, if you actually put it on the right bit, Hono. There we go. And that's installing the APK. That's only going to take a couple of seconds, and that's done. We're not quite finished. We want to go over to this folder icon, manage files on the headset. So you're not necessarily going to have as many folders as me. That's fine, don't worry. It's just been that I've been doing more stuff than you. But you're going to want to get the red circle with the plus. We're not going to add a file, we want to create a folder. So we'll click on that, name it whatever you like. I called mine ROMs. This is going back for when I did RetroArch. So now we can just take a folder we've got games in, just drag and drop that across and copy those files across. So some of the games are bigger than others. The time it's going to take will depend. I did buy the largest storage of the Quest 2 because I knew I'd be doing stuff like this. Some of you are going to be limited on your storage, so just keep that in mind, how many games you do copy across to your headset. But that's it. We need to disconnect it, put the VR headset on and continue the setup in VR. Right, so with our VR headset on, we're going to want to go into the library, and of course we're not going to see CitraVR in with our other apps and games. We need to go to the top and select unknown sources. If we sort it A to Z, help us find CitraVR. So there it is. So this is the first time we're running it. It wants to access the microphone. We'll allow that. It says it does not provide any game titles. You have to provide our own. We know that. So we need to pick a system folder. So we'll do that. And then it's going to ask where you've put your games. So we're just going to use the same folder. That's fine. So we'll allow that. So now it's scanned it, found the 2 games I've copied across. Now because I'm on the Quest 2, the performance isn't going to be as good as a Quest 3. I need to see if there's any way I could possibly improve performance. So we're not going to tinker with any of the limit speed. Our regions auto select, that all looks good. Gonna mess about with camera. We could pair a Bluetooth gamepad to the Quest 2 and then manually configure the buttons. I can't see any options for gyro controls, so maybe that will come in the future. If you want to change the touch controller bindings, you would have to take a file off of the Quest headset, put it on your PC, edit it, and then move it back. I'm not going to bother because they've already just made changes to the controls. I'm pretty sure they'll figure out what works well as default. So we're getting to the graphics. So we want the Vulkan API preferably. If a game struggles, we'll go over to OpenGL. We've got our asynchronous shader compilation. So our internal resolution. So at auto, ×2 would be okay for the Quest 2. On the Quest 3 it might be at 3 times or 4 times. So if you dropped it down, and if we say 2, we'll just leave it at that. One will be far too blurry to enjoy. So accurate multiplication uses more accurate multiplication than hardware shaders, which may fix some graphical bugs. When enabled, however, performance will be reduced. So let's untick that. We've got our depth, so 100%. Could have it at 50, whatever you want. We don't want custom textures or anything like that. I'll get to the audio. So audio stretching would be on by default, but we could turn that off as it slightly reduces performance when it's enabled. Got our VR options. So the environment, you could have your pass-through cameras on, but using those cameras, powering them is going to drain the battery. So I'm just going to leave us in the void. Extra VR performance mode seems like a good idea till you realise that disables all audio. So we'll leave that disabled. So they said that they've changed the default setting to free to help with battery life and to control the heat of the VR headset. So we'll leave that on free. We're not going to boost it. We've got our new mode, the immersive mode, for the wraparound screen at the top, but we know that's going to cause graphical glitches right now, so we will leave that off as well. So let's see how we get on with Mario Kart. So it might crash. I might have to reload it. If that happens, you just have to bear with me, but I'm not going to hide anything. I don't have a me character, that's fine. I'll just use the trigger to select. So of course I've got a top screen that I can move around, and we've got our bottom screen. So I can use the left thumbstick to select. We'll just do single player. We'll do the Grand Prix. Scroll down to 150. So I'm listening to the sound as well. The sound is always a good giveaway of how well it's being emulated, if there's any stuttering. So there you go. Any of those options will be fine. We'll pick the turbo boost mushroom. So A on the right touch controller is going to be our throttle. Now don't hold it down because we'll stall. We need to try and time it with the lights. No doubt I'll cock it up on camera. We'll see how we go. So the right grip button, if we tap it, will jump. If we hold it down, we'll drift. Missed out on the power-ups. We'll have to wait for the next lot to come along. There's one for us. I've got the speed boost. Oh, we hit the bananas. Didn't see that through the cubes. Alright, we're on a roll. What have we got this time? Another speed boost. It's playing pretty well. So we can launch the shell as a missile. The red ones are homing. So we're in third place. What have we got this time? Speed boost. Wiped out. It just took second place at the line there. So yeah, it's perfectly playable. It's quite enjoyable. So there's no way that I can see currently to get back to the main emulator options. We'll have to bring up the menu and just quit. So the next thing I want to do is virtual desktop. Right, so we've loaded virtual desktop. I've got my virtual room, and of course the screen I'm seeing is from my gaming PC. So in case you missed it earlier on in the video, I did say just because your gaming PC isn't necessarily good enough to do a Half-Life Alyx or other PC VR titles, when it comes to emulation, the graphics card isn't as important. So give this a go. You might actually be surprised. As long as your graphics card can send the video signal with a virtual desktop to your Quest headset, you might be pleasantly surprised. So let's pick a game. Let's Super Mario 3D Land sounds good. Let's just double check in my settings that I did leave the stereoscopic side-by-side on. That's at 50%. That's all good. So we'll double click. F11 will put us full screen. Now I can press F10 to skip through different layouts for the screens. I'm alright with the top and bottom layout, but we need to click with the touch controllers to do the 3D mode. Now unfortunately this doesn't come across in the YouTube video, but that text is much further forward to me than the gameplay going on behind. It does look really, really, really good. So let's put the touch controllers down. I'll just get my gamepad and continue on my save. So I already know this does play really, really well. So I'm not limited by the power of the Quest headset. Yeah, plays really, really well. So let's stop that. I'll just get my touch controller again to switch off to 3D mode, because I can't really make sense of what the screen is saying otherwise. Let's try something else. So let's do Star Fox 64 3D. Even though it says it's bad, let's just see how bad it really is. We'll double click. So let's turn our 3D mode back on, half side by side. Let's do a different environment, shall we? Let's go for a much larger screen. Very nice. So yeah, again, they've got that 3D effect. Really, really impressive. My gyro controls are working with the gamepad. So we can do the main game. We can skip this with the start button. So far so good. So I don't know why it's bad. Maybe it's a wrong rating for compatibility, or maybe there's a point later on in the game that it's not happy with. So we can tap to change, got the mouse there, whether we go push up to go up and down to go down, or invert it. So pushing up dives as it would do with real controls in a plane. So I'm happy with that. That's what I'm used to. So we're going to go through the training.
Welcome to training mode. Let's practice the basics.
Use the circle pad to steer.
So that's my left thumbstick.
Slide the circle pad down. To descend, slide the circle pad up.
So they're starting to talk about the gyro controls. So we can steer our fighter. It's pretty obvious what the gyro controls will do, but it says we can realign them with the B button. I can do somersaults and U-turns. Yes, we do want to use gyro controls.
Hold the L or R button while turning to move left or right quickly. Press the L or R button twice to do a barrel roll.
Can do that.
Barrels under fire. Press the Y button to launch a bomb. Press the Y button again to detonate it.
There we go.
Press the A button to fire your laser. Hold the A button.
So I'm not seeing graphical glitches really. The sound is good.
Then press it again to fire a charge shot.
So I'm obviously having a much larger screen than
Lock on to enemies.
the Nintendo 3DS provides. I have my own home theatre.
Destroy multiple enemies at once. And you'll learn bonus points.
So yeah, I can live with that. F5, stop the emulation. Let's turn our 3D mode off. Wake up the controller. What else have we got? So I know Snake Eater has a lot of cinematics. Takes up quite a while to get into. Luigi's Mansion is perfect. So let's give that a go. Turn our side by side back on. So I need to adjust that till I can't see the ghost. That would be there. So we expect this to be perfect, play incredibly well. Right, we can have a look around in our theatre. So again with the cinematics, not much I can do. Pretty sure this uses gyro controls as well. So right trigger is doing the flashlight. We have to explore. So right shoulder button is doing the motion. Yeah, it plays quite well. So this reminds me that my brother broke his Nintendo 3DS. He cracked the top screen and it's an absolute pig to fix it. That's on my to-do list. Right. So yeah, I think we can leave it there, guys. Hopefully it's given you a good idea how to get you up and going. Have a great day, have a great evening, whatever it is you choose to do after watching this. And as always, I'll see you when I see you next. Ciao for now.